Welcome to Assembly Bethesda On Air, where we explore faith in everyday culture. I'm your host, Hayne Fogarty, and today we're tackling a topic that, for some, might feel a little unsettling. We're diving into horror movies and faith, specifically, why Christians shouldn't be afraid of the scary. Now, I know what you might be thinking. For a long time, in many Christian communities, horror has been swiftly labeled as off-limits, something that invites darkness, glorifies fear, or is just plain unholy. But here's the thing, there's a fascinating shift happening. Theologians and thoughtful believers are beginning to point out that horror, viewed through the lens of faith, can actually be profoundly spiritually honest, and, dare I say, even helpful. When you consider that our faith inherently involves spiritual battles, isn't horror often the very genre that takes those battles and the unseen forces at play most seriously? I think it is. So let's unpack why we, as Christians, can truly embrace the scary without worry, and perhaps find some surprising spiritual insights along the way. Get ready to challenge some deeply ingrained ideas, because this conversation might just change your perspective.
Let's start with a foundational point. Horror validates a supernatural worldview. In a world focused on materialism, on only what you can prove, horror stands out. It declares that the unseen is profoundly real. When you watch a movie with demons or spirits, it inherently implies there's a good force out there too, ready to fight back, right? Think of that line from the 2010 film Devil. If the devil exists, God must too. It's a powerful reminder that our existence isn't merely physical. We are eternal beings in a much larger spiritual picture. Horror, in a surprising way, acts like a memento mori, keeping that eternal perspective fresh. But it's not just about the unseen. Horror also offers a safe space to confront evil. The Bible doesn't shy away from terrifying realities, stories of wars, possessions, God's intense glory. Horror mirrors this by showing sin as a truly destructive, monstrous force, not just a small slip-up. It depicts total depravity in ways that deeply resonate. And to truly appreciate the light, you need to clearly see the darkness. Facing evil on screen powerfully highlights why a savior is absolutely essential, why Jesus is the light of the world.
Now, let's talk about a classic trope in horror, the final girl. This is that survivor who is often portrayed as vigilant, moral, or sacrificial. And what's interesting is how often, in films like The Conjuring or The Exorcist, Christian symbols, think crosses, holy water, heartfelt prayers, are depicted as the very weapons that work against evil. These tales frequently end with evil being defeated, echoing the powerful promise from the Bible that the serpent ultimately gets crushed. It's incredibly encouraging, actually. Showing evil is tough, yes, but ultimately and decisively beaten. Furthermore, horror has a powerful way of disarming the spirit of fear itself. We know that fear as an emotion is natural. It's a built-in warning system. But a spirit of fear, as the Bible describes, is bondage. Watching scary movies in a controlled setting provides a kind of catharsis, almost like an emotional exercise. For us as believers, death, the ultimate scary thing, has already been conquered by the resurrection of Jesus. Engaging with horror, then, becomes an act of defiance, a way of looking the macabre in the face, knowing it holds no lasting power over us. It's an empowering thought, isn't it?
Of course, with any media, discernment is absolutely crucial, and horror is no exception. As Philippians 4:8 wisely advises, we should focus on what is true, noble, right, pure, lovely, admirable. Not all horror is created equal, and this is where we need to be careful. We need to distinguish between what I call redemptive horror and nihilistic horror. Redemptive horror exposes evil to ultimately celebrate the triumph of good. It shines a light on darkness so that the light looks even brighter. Nihilistic horror, on the other hand, often glorifies cruelty, or worse, suggests that evil is supreme, that there's no hope. We also need to differentiate between secular religious horror, which might use Christian symbols just for scares, and truly redemptive types that genuinely explore themes of faith, sacrifice, and the ultimate victory of good. So, how do we navigate this? Well, I've got some recommendations for you. We're going to look at some films that I believe exemplify how horror can actually be a tool for spiritual reflection and growth. These aren't just jump scares. These are stories with substance. Let's dive in.
First up, The Conjuring from 2013. This film, for me, truly sets the bar for faith-based horror. It's based on the real-life work of Ed and Lorraine Warren, demonologists whose cases are deeply rooted in their Catholic faith. The movie portrays a family haunted by darkness, and crucially, they fight back using their faith as a literal shield. What's more, it depicts Christian marriage in such a positive light and powerfully underscores God's unwavering authority over evil. It's a fantastic example of a horror film where faith isn't just set dressing, but the active solution. Next, let's talk about A Quiet Place from 2018. While it's creature horror, it's profoundly infused with pro-family themes. The premise, where silence is key to survival, beautifully emphasizes sacrificial love, much like the spirit of John 15:13. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. There's a particularly powerful silent prayer scene that really highlights faith's essential role in enduring unimaginable hardship. These films show that true horror doesn't have to be gratuitous. It can be deeply meaningful.
Moving on, let's consider Nefarious from 2023. This one is incredibly intellectual, almost like a modern-day Screw Tape Letters. It centers on a psychiatrist interviewing an inmate who claims to be a demon. Their conversations delve deep into theology, the fall of humanity, and the tactics of our spiritual enemy. It's a film that genuinely prompts profound reflection on the spiritual impact of our everyday choices. This isn't just about scares. It's about wrestling with complex ideas of good and evil, and it stays with you long after the credits roll. Then we have Signs from 2002. Director M. Night Shyamalan blends sci-fi and horror here, but at its heart, it's a powerful sermon on providence. It follows an ex-priest who discovers mysterious crop circles, forcing him to confront profound questions about coincidences versus divine signs. The film beautifully illustrates how even seemingly random or tragic events can ultimately fit into God's larger redemptive plan. It's a testament to the idea that there are no accidents in God's economy, and that faith can be found even in the most unsettling circumstances.
Finally, we absolutely must talk about The Exorcist from 1973. This classic isn't just a horror film. It's an intensely profound portrayal of spiritual warfare, focusing on a doubting priest who is called to help a young possessed girl. It's a raw, unflinching depiction of evil, but also shows how God can profoundly use imperfect people for acts of redemption, and how deep faith can be reawakened even when confronting pure darkness. While it's extreme in its intensity and has an R rating for profanity and deeply disturbing content, it's considered by many to be spiritually accurate in its portrayal of evil forces and the power of faith against them. This is a film for mature audiences, for those who can approach it with discernment, understanding its difficult themes, but also appreciating the powerful arc of doubt transforming into sacrifice. It's a challenging watch, but one that can truly deepen your understanding of spiritual realities. All right, let's go through a quick watch guide for these films. For The Conjuring, from 2013, expect high intensity with jumps and demons. It's rated R mostly for scares, with minimal other explicit content. When you watch, pay close attention to the Warrens' ministry approach, how they use Christ's authority directly against evil. Then, A Quiet Place. This is moderate suspense, PG-13, with some blood, but it's focused on deeper themes. Note the powerful silent prayer scene and the father's sacrificial shout. It's a truly pro-life film, highlighting family survival through unwavering commitment. Next, Nefarious. This is moderate high psychological intensity, rated R primarily for an execution scene. When you watch, really listen to the demon's perspective on the crucifixion. It's designed to reveal subtle, slow spiritual traps, directly applying spiritual warfare to daily life. And Signs, low, moderate, eerie, PG-13 and family-friendly. Focus on Graham's powerful speech about finding signs of providence. It's about how characters' weaknesses ultimately become tools for salvation, leading to a restoration of faith. These brief insights should help you navigate each film with purpose. So, how do we view these films safely and wisely? Always gauge the fruit of a movie. If it leaves you feeling hopeless, if it's nihilistic, or if it overtly glorifies cruelty without any redemptive arc, then honestly, skip it. You don't need that in your spirit. Better yet, watching Community. It's fantastic for discussion, for processing what you've seen together. And here's a crucial mindset shift. Recall 1 John 4:4. Greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. When you engage with horror from this position of spiritual authority, you shift from being a potential victim to an informed observer. Horror, when done right and viewed with discernment, genuinely strengthens faith by acknowledging spiritual battles and, most importantly, celebrating good's ultimate victory. It reminds us of the supernatural, confronts evil safely, celebrates virtue, and helps us overcome fear. With discernment, it's a powerful tool for deeper spiritual insight. Thank you for joining me today. As always, it is a pleasure to spend this time with you. God bless, and until next time.